Well, one of the items that we need to take up and move on is the emergency supplemental to deal with the humanitarian crisis at the border. Unfortunately, it looks like we're on a track to do absolutely nothing, which to me is the definition of political malpractice. Unfortunately, the White House is, despite the fact that Secretary Johnson and the White House press secretary both identified a need to change the 2008 trafficking law in order to treat children from non-contiguous countries the same way we now treat unaccompanied children from Mexico, despite the fact that both of those said we need that change, despite the fact that senators like Senator McCaskill, Senator Carper both agree that in addition to the emergency funds, we need to change the policy. It looks like Senator Reid has already determined that the border is secure and that we're not going to do anything. The President obviously has a political problem because he's overpromised some immigration activists that he would further weaken repatriation and enforcement of our immigration laws, and so they are determined to stick with just a request for $3.7 billion of additional money with no solution to the problem. And that's a tragedy, not just for us, but for all of these children who are being lured to our borders courtesy of the cartels and other organized criminal organizations.
Ted Cruz has a proposal to limit the deferred action of the Obama administration as part of this border supplemental bill. Would you support something like that?
Well, I mean, if we bring up a border security bill, hopefully it'll be open for amendment for Senator Cruz and anyone else to offer suggestions. But what I think I can safely say virtually everybody I've heard in our conference discuss is that throwing money at the problem is not going to fix it. I mean, I think right now the impression parents of distressed children all over the world probably is, their current conclusion probably is, if somehow, some way, I can get my distressed child into America, they'll be there forever. And until you change that perception, you're going to continue to have the problem.
I believe there are really two fundamental causes to this flood of children coming across the border. One is the needed change in the 2008 law that would allow us to give these children expedited hearings in front of immigration judges to make their case. But the other is, as Senator Cruz has appropriately pointed out, the impression that if you can make it to the United States, you'll be able to stay. And part of that impression is as a result of the President unilaterally issuing this deferred action order in 2012. While Democrats admit it would not apply to the children that are currently coming across the border, there is, based on the intelligence collected from the Department of Homeland Security, from some of the migrants themselves, an impression that there is something called a permiso, or a permission, basically, that if you make it to the United States that you can stay. That is, as many of you know, is the notice to appear, which is called among law enforcement circles a notice to disappear, because people never show up for their hearings, and so they ultimately end up succeeding. As long as that continues to be the case, we're going to continue to see those numbers go up, up, and up, and I think more and more backlash as these children are being warehoused in communities across the country.